Hi, and welcome to our audiobook series brought to you by Burgapoly Publishing. Let the journey begin. Today we are presenting
Into the 6th Millennium, The Invasion of Zephro by Robert Skindell. Chapter 2, Last Day as a Boy. The morning ritual unfolded like a slow-moving current, its surface undisturbed, but carrying unseen depths beneath. "I believe I have everything packed," John said, his voice measured as he descended the stairs. The duffel bags weighed at his sides, more than just luggage, symbols of transition, the markers of departure from one world into another. His mother stood at the foot of the stairs, a figure of quiet grief. The height difference was more than physical. She looked up at him now, the way one gazes at something that has already begun to slip away. Moving with an unconscious tenderness, her hands reached to straighten his hair, a futile act of preservation. "Oh, I can't believe my baby is leaving for college," she whispered, her voice carrying the tremor of a past not ready to let go. A tear clung to the corner of her eye, an unspent relic of maternal sorrow. John exhaled, shaking his head. "Mom, you said you wouldn't do this." She hastily wiped at the tear as if erasing evidence of her weakness. You're right," she murmured. Then, forcing herself into motion, she turned toward the kitchen. "Come on, have some breakfast." John followed. The house smelled of cooked eggs and familiarity, a scent that had wrapped around his childhood and would be cast adrift in his memory before the day's end. His father was already seated at the counter, a man of solid presence, his grip on his coffee cup firm, as though anchoring himself in a world that made less and less sense. Across the kitchen, the oversized television played its images of unrest. Figures in the streets, flames licking at the edges of order. Mr. Spencer reached for the remote and silenced the screen. "These people are crazy," he muttered, shaking his head. "They have no idea how good they've got it. They just want to tear it all down." He glanced at John, offering the shadow of a smile. "Looks like you're leaving at the right time. Are you ready for the best years of your life?" John slid onto the stool beside him, the weight of expectation pressing against his thoughts. "Yeah, I guess so." From the far end of the kitchen, a voice, smooth and precise, cut through the moment. "Good morning, sir." John turned toward the speaker. Reginald, the house steward, an android of polished metal and artificial courtesy, stood at attention. His eyes, twin circles of soft amber light, regarded the scene with programmed patience. "Good morning, Reginald," John said, acknowledging the machine as one acknowledges the furniture, an object with a voice. Reginald stepped forward, movements eerily human in their precision. A plate of steaming scrambled eggs appeared before John, its presentation flawless. "Here you go, sir." "Thanks, Reginald," John muttered, staring at the plate. His father lifted his coffee cup absently. "Can I get some more coffee, Reginald?" The android hesitated a fraction of a second longer than a human might. A pause, not of thought, but of compliance measured and confirmed. It was a silence that made one wonder if machines ever found amusement in the habits of men. Reginald, ever the unyielding guardian of programmed discipline, took the coffee cup from Mr. Spencer's hand with the practiced elegance of a machine that knew its purpose. "Sir, you know you are only supposed to have 1 cup of coffee in the morning," Reginald stated, his tone absent of apology, yet firm with mechanical finality. Mr. Spencer exhaled, the sigh of a man defeated by his own household steward. "Yeah, okay," he muttered, resignation settling into his shoulders. John chuckled, the simple, habitual exchange leaving a slight warmth in his chest. "That's one thing I'll miss." His mother, ever attuned to sentiment, turned her attention toward him. "What's that, dear?" John swallowed another forkful of eggs. "Having Reginald around." His father smirked, leaning back against the counter. "Well, if we could afford one of those new lifelike androids, one of those girl models, I'd say you could take Reginald with you." Mrs. Spencer smacked his arm with playful disapproval. "Don't say that too loud. You'll hurt Reginald's feelings." "He's a machine for crying out loud," Mr. Spencer retorted. "He doesn't have any feelings." The words had barely left his lips when a loud, deliberate clang echoed through the kitchen, metal against metal, sharp, intentional, unsettling. The sound made all three of them jolt. Reginald stood motionless for a fraction of a second longer than necessary, then with perfect poise, resumed his work. "So sorry about that," he said smoothly, without turning. The pan slipped. Mrs. Spencer leaned forward, voice barely above a whisper, her eyes gleaming with quiet triumph. "See? He's sensitive." Mr. Spencer rolled his eyes, muttering something under his breath. Still, his gaze lingered on the android for just a moment longer than usual. Then, shaking off the unease, he turned back to John. "Are you ready, champ? We need to leave soon if we're going to make it to the spaceport in time for your transport." John took his last bite, then downed his orange juice in one go. Too fast. A cascade of liquid escaped, running down the sides of his mouth, defying his efforts at composure. He wiped it away with his sleeve as his mother sighed, shaking her head, a silent acceptance of the boy who had not yet fully become a man. "I'm ready," John said, standing abruptly. Reginald continued his work, but paused just long enough to acknowledge the departure. "Goodbye, sir." John hesitated for the briefest of moments before responding. "Goodbye, Reginald." And then it was done. He walked out of the kitchen, his parents following behind. The air felt different now, heavier, as if something unseen had shifted in the space they had left behind. He reached down, picking up his bags where they had waited for him at the threshold. Symbols of transition, the weight of inevitability resting against his palms. His mother's eyes misted again as she stepped in front of him, her hands reaching up, soft against the sharp angles of his growing face. She cupped his cheeks, holding him there for just a moment longer. A mother's last act of defiance against the passage of time. "Let me take one last look at you before you go." John stood still, wearing a wry smile as her fingers pressed lightly against his skin. The moment stretched between them, unspoken things passing between mother and son. Behind them, the soft hiss of the condo's automated door sliding open broke the spell. His father, already stepping into the hallway, impatient with things beyond his control, turned back with a nod. "Okay, let's go." The hallway stretched before them, sterile and unremarkable. It was a conduit between the life John had known and the one awaiting him beyond the city's limits. His father moved with silent efficiency, pressing his palm against the reader to seal the door behind them. It slid shut with a finality that did not go unnoticed. They descended in silence, the elevator gliding downward through the heart of the towering structure, their reflections cast faintly against the metal walls. The 25th floor, the parking garage, the next stage of departure. When the doors parted, the air was thick with the scent of ozone and the faint hum of repulsor engines. Vehicles, hovering mere inches above the smooth pavement, awaited the command of their owners. Rather than taking the moving sidewalk, they walked, each step a quiet drumbeat of inevitability. Mr. Spencer moved ahead, taking John's duffel bags and tossing them into the trunk with casual efficiency, as if lightening his son's burden in some symbolic gesture. Then, slipping into the driver's seat, he issued a curt command. The vehicle, ever obedient, responded instantly. With a barely perceptible hum, the car lifted from the ground, reversed from its berth, and turned toward the vast opening of the garage. Beyond it, the sky stretched in layers of structured motion, an intricate ballet of airborne traffic weaving between the towering spires of the metropolis. John leaned toward the window, watching as they entered the stream of countless other travelers. Lines of vehicles traced pathways through the sky, orderly yet indifferent, as if moving towards something more splendid, something unseen. His mother's voice, soft but laced with concern, cut through the gentle hum of the cabin. "Jalopolis is almost as big as our city, so please be careful." John nodded absently, his thoughts already drifting toward the unknown that awaited him. "Okay, I will." But his mother was not finished. A mother's instinct did not allow for silence where caution was owed. "Make sure you eat at the school so you know the food is good," she continued. "You can't trust eating just anywhere." John turned to her with the half-smile of a child humoring a parent who will always worry, no matter the circumstance. "Okay, Mom." His father scoffed, shaking his head as he piloted the car forward. "Stop worrying, would you? The boy will be fine." Then, after a brief pause, he added with measured seriousness, "Just don't get too wild at these parties. Have fun, but not too much fun, if you know what I mean. Mrs. Spencer rolled her eyes. Great advice. Hey, he has to know these things, Mr. Spencer countered, undeterred. John smirked, then pointed toward the skyline ahead. A transport carrier, sleek and massive, lifted from the pads below, its engines burning a steady ascent into the upper atmosphere. We must be getting close, he said. His mother's hand tightened slightly on her lap. I hope that wasn't yours. A thin edge of concern wove through her voice. What time is it? His father waved her off. Relax, we have plenty of time. The vehicle descended lower, breaking from the organized flow of sky traffic as it neared the spaceport's landing platforms. The ground rose beneath them, rows of landing pads, a meticulous system of arrivals and departures unfolding below. John watched, his gaze fixed on the intricate dance of departures, the travelers transition into the void beyond the planet's reach. Their vehicle finally settled into its designated parking space, guided effortlessly by the central AI of the port's navigation system. The hum of the engine faded as they disembarked. The moment stretched before them, one final breath before the separation began. The moving sidewalk carried them toward the terminal, where John would step onto the path that would take him away. The spaceport terminal stretched before them, a vast and controlled chaos of motion. The air buzzed with the murmur of departing conversations, the low hum of announcement speakers, and the ever-present undercurrent of waiting. People moved like currents in a tide, some pacing, some settled into the rows of chairs that lined the area, all caught in the pull of departure and arrival. John's father took in the scene with a slow nod. Well, here we are. John scanned the crowd of travelers, dreamers, and transients, his eyes narrowing at the sheer volume of people gathered beneath the sprawling glass ceiling. Are all these people going on the transport? His father shrugged. Some of these ships hold over 300 passengers. His voice was calm and casual, but there was something else beneath it, an acceptance of the inevitable, a farewell already given before the moment had even arrived. John was about to respond when movement in the distance caught his eye, a flash of familiarity. Across the terminal, a girl with short black hair and an energy that cut through the hum of the crowd waved in their direction. Her voice, bright and unfiltered, rang out over the terminal noise. John! John turned, as did his parents. His father squinted. Who's that? That's Chi, from school, John said, already stepping away. I'll be right back. His father chuckled, throwing a light punch at John's arm. Cha-cha, Chi, he teased with a smirk. John exhaled through his nose and rolled his eyes, but the reaction was automatic, like a well-worn ritual between father and son. Then, shaking his head, he moved toward Chi, weaving through the slow-moving travelers until they met in the middle. Chi's face lit up with the kind of enthusiasm that ignored the weight of transitions. Are you ready for our trip to Jalopolis? John nodded, then smirked. Wait, you're going too? Chi crossed her arms in mock offense. Oh, stop it. You know I'm going. Isn't it exciting? She looked up at him, her dark eyes bright and expectant, filled with something John wasn't sure how to name. I guess so, he admitted, allowing a small smile. I wonder how many kids from our class will be on this shuttle, he added, glancing around as if he might recognize another face in the sea of strangers. Since that recruiter came to our school? A lot, she said. I mean, what parent would pass up free college? John followed her gaze as it flickered toward her parents. They were watching, observing, a quiet presence in the distance. He gave a small wave. They returned it, polite, approving. Well, I'd better get back, he said, shifting his duffel strap. I'll see you on board. Tom's supposed to be on this shuttle too. Chi grinned. Tom is supposed to be a lot of places. Yeah, John smirked. Maybe he'll show up. And maybe he won't, Chi finished. A moment of shared amusement passed between them before they turned in opposite directions. As John approached his parents, his father wasted no time, nudging him in the shoulder with a knowing grin. That's your new girlfriend? John groaned, his patience wearing thin with the inevitable commentary. No, she's not my girlfriend. His mother, ever the gentler presence, ignored the exchange and instead asked, Are Chi's parents doing well? John shrugged, his thoughts already elsewhere. I guess. They moved toward the check-in counter. the finality of the moment settling into the spaces between them. The final threshold approached with quiet inevitability. John and his parents had done everything there was to do, checked in, handed over his bags, and settled into the moment of waiting. Time stretches and contracts in strange ways during farewells. For half an hour they talked, filling the silence with small, safe words as if delaying the reality that hovered between them. And then the announcement came. John stood, his pulse a quiet drumbeat against the weight of transition. "I guess this is it." His mother rose as if propelled by something beyond herself, and she was holding him before he could take another step. Tears ran freely now, darkening spots on his shirt, but neither acknowledged it. "Oh, I'm going to miss you," she whispered, her voice trembling under the weight of years. John swallowed against the tightness in his throat. A boy leaving home should not cry, but some moments made rules irrelevant. "I'm going to miss you too, Mom." His father, standing beside them, exhaled slowly. When his turn came, he pulled John in with a firm grip, his words carrying the soft echo of memories that could never be relived, only remembered. "It seems like we were just taking you home from the hospital," he said, his voice gruff, betraying emotion he would not show. And then it was time. They walked together toward the forming line, standing on the edge of two worlds, one familiar, one unknown. One last look, one final farewell. Then the crowd swallowed him, and the boy was gone.
That wraps up Chapter 2 of Into the 6th Millennium, The Invasion of Zephro. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Grab the book and merch below and check out the tools we use to bring this story to life.